those relationships that you have relied on for years and years and years, like the well may have run dry.
Welcome back to the Elite Business Advice Podcast. My name is Chris Moore, the founder of Elite Business Advisors, the host of the Elite Business Advice Podcast. Are you the contractor that relies on referrals and word of mouth business? And if you are, let me ask you, do you actually do anything to try and help influence the amount of referrals you get? That's a big pain point that we see with a lot of contractors, especially painting contractors, is it's all word of mouth. And it's just a little too passive. We kind of just sit back and wait for the business to come to us, which works until it doesn't. So today I've got a friend of mine joining us, Sara Hardwick Grintz. Sarah's the president of GIFTOLOGY, where they help business owners and sales professionals build stronger relationships that lead to referrals, opportunities, and long-term growth. Their mission is to help individuals and organizations become more intentional with the people who matter most. And so through their relationship operating system, she teaches practical ways to deepen connections, create meaningful opportunities, and build businesses that grow through trust and generosity. So today, I want to pick her brain a little bit on what painting contractors should do, not just to create more referrals for their business, but to truly build a system so this is just one more piece of marketing that's always working for you. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice Podcast. Sara, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Me too. I appreciate it. Tell us just kind of a little bit about yourself and why you're so passionate about what you guys do at GIFTOLOGY.
Yes, president of GIFTOLOGY, and we, as I think you already mentioned in your
Yeah.
intro, we really are here to help business leaders, service professionals, sales professionals be more intentional about how they strategically use relationships in their business as a growth lever. I started my time here at Giftology because in my own personal life, I felt the power of relationships and also felt the power of gifting. Our company really did start as a gifting company. John Rulin, our amazing late founder, just saw that power in
Yeah.
how he was able to leverage relationships in his own world, and now we've spread this mission across the country.
I love it. I love it. I know I've referenced his book a lot over the years on this podcast. I love some of the principles in it. That's what initially led me to connecting with you guys and Cami and everything. So I love what you guys are doing. I think it aligns well with kind of what we coach and advise on, right? That there's a lot of ways to get clients. And sometimes we forget about, I don't even want to say low hanging fruit because that makes it sound bad, but we forget about the easy things that are right in front of us. One of those being our happy, satisfied customers that already exist in the world that know us, like us, trust us. The other ones being the referral partners and the network that you can build around you to provide those referrals, right? And so it's really easy. We see this a lot, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here today to kind of share a little bit more about the concept of building this referral, operating system, relationship operating system, is because we see too many people just start throwing hundreds and thousands of dollars at all these digital marketing strategies. And I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for that in a business, but it's not the end all be all solution that everybody tends to think it is. Right. So,
Absolutely. And I think, Chris, you asked me why I'm so passionate about this and why now specifically, it we are in this age of all of these shiny digital marketing techniques and tools and tips at
yeah,
our fingertips, feeling like AI and Claude and automation and all these things. And like, look, there absolutely is a place for that, but you are 100% right that we spend so much time strategizing and systematizing and thinking about our investment into that side of our business. And our whole thing is we just don't spend enough time doing the same thing over here in this relationship bucket that we really do believe doesn't just produce ROI, but ROR, which is 10x anything that a Facebook ad could give you.
yes, I love that. What's ROR stand for?
Yeah. Return on relationship. And I always
Yeah.
joke as our clients spend more time with us. I mean, we have so many acronyms, it's hard to count,
I
But
love it.
that one is one that always sticks with people. ROI versus ROR.
That's good. That's a really good breakdown. Okay, so for starters, tell me the real reason why, I'm going to put this in quotes for anybody just listening on audio, just do good work and referrals will come, doesn't really hold up as a long-term marketing strategy for a contractor.
Yeah, that's an incredibly passive mindset.
Yep.
And what we've seen is a lot of business leaders are able to get by with that referrals on accident mentality. Like, I get referrals right now, right? I
Yeah.
do good work and referrals do come from or come through the door. But imagine if you actually took the intentional time, investment, and strategy to put some fuel on the fire of your relationships and of your referral partners. Like, we truly do believe that that can be a controllable lever in your business. And it comes from just doing your service and hoping things will
Yeah.
come.
Yep. Well, and I think there's a big difference too, right? We've already used the terms like proactive and reactive and
Yeah,
passive and all this, right? And I think whatever term you want to put on there, there's a big difference between being passive and reactive and waiting for things to just happen. And then there's a whole nother level of going and doing things, even if we're still kind of hoping that it comes back to us, but
yeah,
we're actually putting intentional action behind doing something that then at least we have a little bit of control over, right?
yeah.
I see a lot of people, unfortunately, and again, that are relying on that. They're literally, I mean, almost sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. Like, not actually, but, I mean, essentially from a marketing point of view, that is their marketing plan, right? And it's
Yeah.
like just even putting some action into trying to help manifest more referrals, more business, those things, at least you can control that, right? You can't control how often the phone rings when you're sitting at home on your couch waiting for it to happen.
Absolutely. And the just do good work and referrals will come. That is only applicable to your clients who have experienced your service and
Yep.
your work being able to refer you business. There are a whole slew of advocates, community partners, shoulder industries that have the power to refer you, but you can't just rely on your service showing up, doing good work in that realm
Yep.
because they're not using you as a service provider. They are relying on your partnership for an overall opportunity to be created.
I love that. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about what you guys do and why we've hit it off so well. Because, like, when I had my painting company, we had built, and I'm going to say there was a lot of strategy and intentionality behind it. I think it accidentally happened and I realized the power of it. Part of it was I had met Brian at an event here in St. Louis. So, but we had probably 3 or 4 real estate agents that would give us at least probably a referral or two a month each, because they were really good advocates for their clients. I always tell people there's 2 different types of real estate agents out there. There's ones that really advocate for their partners and are like there for their clients, and there's other ones that are more transactional.
Yeah.
That's okay. You just got to know which ones are worth putting the time into. But we had a really good, group of that interior designers and then other contractors, as you mentioned, shoulder industries, right? And I mean, I would say, truthfully, Sarah, that probably made up about 70% of our business was just the system we had of relationships with these contractors and real estate agents and interior designers, not to mention the previous clients, that really just kept a great stream of referrals coming in for us. And I would much rather pour into relationships with people than spend thousands of dollars a month on Facebook ads or be out in the 95-degree heat here in July putting door hangers out, right? Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't do those things for all my contractors listening, but it definitely was something that it sustained us for what our goals were at the time. And so, yeah, I'm
And
a huge fan of that.
Chris, that percentage is incredibly impressive and not a percentage that we hear enough.
Yeah.
When I do some of our more facing speaking and webinars, I always ask the question of what percentage of your referrals are coming from non-clients.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone has ever answered over 15%. Like,
Yeah.
there is this notion and this focus on understanding how referrals work from your clients, but what gets people stuck in that world is that our clients only have so many opportunities to refer us. They only
Yeah.
have so many neighbors and so many friends. They're not actively creating a funnel for themselves to refer you. Whereas those shoulder industry partners, those interior designers, those real estate agents, those contractors, they're out there creating opportunities for themselves as well. They need to keep their business
Yeah.
alive. And that funnel can also be translated over to you in partnership.
Yeah. No, I love that. One question I would love to get your input on. Have you guys noticed people that are just reliant on word of mouth? That has trended backwards a little bit over the last year and a half?
In the
Like
sense
again,
that,
without doing anything to push for this, right? That are again, we're talking the passive ones.
absolutely. I think if you are continuously being passive around word of mouth, I will say what we've seen very strongly is that the pendulum is swinging back. That all of these things and the noise that has been created in typical traditional marketing over the past 10 to 20 years. Now the things that are standing out are the intentional relationship building touch points. But again, to your point, those are being intentionally strategized as a way for someone to grow their business, not passive.
Yeah.
And I think another concept in a book, we have a couple of books ourselves about this, but the book Give and Take by Adam Grant really lays out this dichotomy well of there's givers, takers, and matchers in the marketplace. The intentional strategic givers are the ones that win. Like you have to be actively giving, adding value, demonstrating value in those relationships that you want to create. If you're just sitting around taking or matching, you're not going to end up on top and building a successful business for yourself in this word of mouth space.
Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't had a chance to read that, but I definitely will put that on my list
Yeah.
now. It sounds pretty good. But the reason I asked the question is because I've noticed that with the, even some of our clients and other painting contractors we see through the industry, people that just passive word of mouth always sustain them to a pretty good level of busyness has
Mhm.
shifted in the last year and a half. And
Yeah.
again, not intentionality behind it, but just being very reliant on it. And even some people, it's like for the last 8 to 10 years, it's kept us busy year round. And now all of a sudden we're having to find ways to go out and bring more leads in. Right. And so, I
Yeah.
agree with you. I think that we're swinging back into that relationship intentional mentality. But I think that it's also amplified the fact of the passive person is struggling more than they ever have with it.
And Chris, I'll say that I think that sometimes is a little bit of a signal that those relationships that you have relied on for years and years and years, like the well may have run dry. You were not out there intentionally building more, or maybe even keeping up with the most important ones in an intentional way that they've either stopped referring for some reason that maybe they don't feel incredibly appreciated or valued, right? Or to my point earlier about the clients, like maybe they don't have anyone else to refer to. They've sent you everyone on their street and they've sent you all their friends and now there's nobody else. And I think that continues to underline the importance of building intentional partners with shoulder industries because that funnel will never run out.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, you know, as you share that, I'm just sitting here thinking about this a little bit more. And I mean, there's also the reality of like when somebody hasn't heard from you in 5 years, that they kind of forget about you, right?
Totally.
We talk about that a lot anytime I get to speak. And I know we've shared it here on the podcast before about just even doing a monthly value add email to your previous clients, right? That's
Absolutely.
80% value add, 10 to 20% about your business, seasonality, whatever. And it's really designed to just be a reminder about you, because when we would show up to paint somebody's house and we would leave for that next week, they are ecstatic about us, right? They had a great experience. They loved their home. They loved our crew. They loved the professionalism that we gave them, the experience. They were like on cloud nine, just shouting our praises, right? And then after like 3 weeks goes by, the paint becomes just an everyday normal thing. And that excitement weans a little bit, right? 3 to 6 months later, it's weaning even more to the point to where if they haven't heard from us after a year, and I'm just putting a year as a rough timeline here, like if somebody at their office was like, hey, we need some painting done, who should we call? The first 6 months, they're like, call Chris at Elite Painting, no question, right? But after like nearing that year, they're like, ooh, hold on, let me probably dig up an email and I might have the guy of the company that we use that we were happy with,
Mhm.
but we just don't remember what his name was or what the company name was, right? 3 years later, again, that just continues to die off. And so I think again that just highlights the need for staying top of mind with people and also having some intentionality, even in the simplest form of that, to just stay on their radar.
Yeah, 100%.
Good. So I know you've talked before about building a relationship operating system. You guys hopped on one of our client masterminds and shared a little bit about that. I loved what you guys had to share there. And really the whole goal is so that referrals, again, don't depend on the memory as we just talked about. Elaborate a little bit more on what you guys have, kind of in mind at building out this relationship operating system.
Yeah, our relationship operating system has really given our clients a framework to make sure that they have an intentional and strategic way to build relationships as well as maintain them. And typically what we see with our clients is there's one gaping hole in one of those. And even if you are really good at building relationships, then often the system or the wheel stops and the maintain piece is what falls off. So we're really intentional about making sure that our clients have each piece of that operating system set up in their business. And maybe it is utilizing us to help. Those first three pieces on that build side, though, is just making sure you're identifying the right relationships to build with. So whether it is past clients and you have a list of those always visible, ready for the team, the shoulder industry partners, making sure that we are intentional about who we've identified and prioritized, I think is often something we just think, oh, I have the relationships in my CRM somewhere, or like I have
Yeah.
contacts in my phone. It's like, let's get specific about the relationships that matter. And then the last two pieces on that side of connect and equip, that's exactly what you're talking about, Chris, of we need to consistently make sure that our referral partners, the people in our network, are able and ready to refer us. We need to equip them to be able to do that well. Do they know how to refer you, or are they just going to tell someone your name and hope for the best? Like, we want three-way video introductions that edify the business owner. Like, we can speak to that person, connect with them, and equip them to be able to refer us business. So that's really the build side. And the
Yeah.
maintain is all about tracking, celebrating, and scaling those relationships. Making sure that business owners have some sort of capability to track their referrals in some way, shape, or form. So
Yep.
we know what partners we need to make sure we're appreciating and prioritizing and staying on top of. And then having some sort of system to make sure that you're celebrating people well, staying top of mind, being thoughtful and memorable. And as Giftology, our number one lever to do that is through scalable strategic gifting.
Yep. I love that. Well, and I think too, and I would love your input on this. Like when you talk about celebrating and those things, is it personal? Is it business? Is it a blend of both? Right? Because I see too many people, and I think this is an important thing with when it comes to relationships, they try to focus too much on like the business relationship.
Yeah.
And I think, in my opinion, the personal means more than anything. So I would love to just know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, when we see businesses attempt to create some sort of memorable celebratory moment in a systematic way, you're 100% right that it often falls on the like 1 year anniversary of the home real estate agents, right? Like all of those
Yep.
things. And our belief that is that it is so much more valuable to show up in a personal way in a time that is not related to the sales cycle or the transaction at all. So
Yeah.
most of the time we are showing up, 2 months before the holiday season, sending them something that they can use with their family and friends in the kitchen, heart of the home, to be able to celebrate with their family, not anything to do celebrating, hey, you've been a client of ours for a year, or hey, we
Right.
ended up painting your house 6 months ago and now we have a trigger button on our CRM that sends a gift.
Yeah.
We want to surprise and delight people. And yes, absolutely. Most of the time, that comes down to speaking to them as a human, not
Yeah.
in this transactional client capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. Well, and I think too, it's, when you can understand, and this is a good note for anybody listening, like make notes in your CRM of like, what did they like? What are their favorite things? What are their kids? Do they have dogs? Like, well, just all of the things that you can take some quick notes on just to know, right? And to your point, following up on referrals, I think like it's good to have a way to track not just, oh, this lead was a referral, but it was a referral from who,
Totally.
right? Because then you can go in and send them something. And, nobody wants to make the phone call. Hey, Sarah, thanks for the referral to, John. Really appreciate that. We'd love to send you something. What would you like?
Right.
Nobody wants to do that, right?
Mm.
But there's definitely things you can do to know, hey, they're a big Cardinals fan, they're a Blues fan, they have two, young pups and whatever. And then you can just send something based on those things already without even having to have that awkward phone call. So yeah.
Yeah, and Chris, I'll share kind of a specific system that shows up for us
Yeah.
when we're working with clients in this capacity that I think would be helpful. When when we receive a referral, when we have clients receive a referral, we believe that the first step is to say thank you. The best way to do that in our eyes is if you can get a handwritten note out the door and already show up in a more meaningful way than a text or a phone call or an
Yes.
email. Awesome. If not, though, I think a lot of the times we're so busy for a good reason trying to serve the client well or the prospect
Yeah.
well that has just come through from a referral partner that we often don't make sure we go back to the referral partner and thank them. So that's step one. Gifts aside, like let's just start with making sure we're saying thank you.
Yes.
What we then are really intentional about communicating back to the referral partner is reporting positive progress about the individual that they sent your way. So letting them know that, hey, we actually have a date on the calendar for this individual to paint their home.
Yeah.
Making sure we communicate that back to the referral partner so they know that the relationships they're sending to you are being taken care of immensely well is so, so important. And then that is where the gifting comes into play. So typically we're not sending a gift because of that process. We're not sending a gift right after a referral is received because then we're creating this transactional relationship of,
Yeah.
oh, I send you a referral, I get something in return. That's not
Yep.
the sort of partnerships we want to cultivate. So a lot of the times, if clients are working with us from a gifting perspective, we note that name, and then next time we're going to do some sort of gift send, we make sure that we surprise and delight and take care of this relationship. No mention of the referral specifically. It is
Yeah.
just, I appreciate you. Thank you for your partnership. Wanted to show up for you in a meaningful way.
I like that. I like that. That way it doesn't become expected every time. So
Exactly.
you mentioned something earlier I want to highlight here too, as we're talking about it, about like holiday season, gifting, when to do it, when maybe it's less impactful. Um, and I think it's just so important. Okay, we get bombarded around the holidays, and it's appreciated still, right? Because that means somebody thought about us and sent us something.
Mhm.
But I think when you get a lot of things around the same time and it is that giving season, the impact is much less significant than, to your point, sending something on November 1st that they can use that holiday season with their family way ahead of all the other stuff that they may get. So I just think that's so important. It's something I've seen a lot. Is there anything more you want to elaborate on with that?
Yeah, I mean, something our chief relationship officer, Cami, who I know you work with,
Yeah.
Chris, says all the time is, does it matter? Does it mean more when your husband shows up on Valentine's Day with roses or when your husband shows up in the middle of August with roses, right? And
Yes.
it absolutely is. That off timing is what makes that gift more memorable and more special. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, most businesses and people's conference rooms and houses and all the things during the holidays are just a package zone. And if you are intentionally investing in relationships in this way, we don't want that to get lost in the sauce. We don't want you to
Yep.
be in that sea of sameness as everyone else. So to be able to just shift that a couple months before the holidays, get ahead of the rush and show up for someone in a really meaningful way. We shift a lot of clients' gifting budget from what they had been typically doing, showing up in December, to, showing up at the beginning of November. And that really means, from a planning perspective, like we're starting to work with clients now in making sure what relationships need to be on that list, what are we going to send, and how are we going to show up really well before the holiday season.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like that a lot. And I think too, I mean, for a lot of contractors listening to this, I mean, October is kind of getting towards the end of the busy season, usually when things cash flow is at its best point. And 3 weeks before December or before Christmas in December is usually it's already starting to dwindle a little bit, right? So
Mhm.
for anybody listening to this, I think being intentional, you'll probably do more of what you really want to do when you're planning in October for it, spending the money in October for November, because you feel a little bit more comfortable in doing so.
Yeah.
So, kind of the last kind of question I want to ask you, what's the difference between networking and actually building a referral partner network? Because I feel like that's something that I see a lot of people get wrong. And so I want to just kind of get your definition on that.
Yeah, I think networking has become this tactic of accumulating relationships and not necessarily deepening them. We all
Yep.
go to these different networking events and coffee chats and all the things to just meet people, but often, especially from a referral capacity, you're waving in the parking lot to that person saying, "Yeah, I'll send you business," and that's often like the last time you hear from them. So we find it much more intentional to go deep with less amount of people and really intentionally cultivate that relationship, equip them and energize them to be able to refer you versus just constantly being out there making connections, that they may or may not be able or be willing
Yeah.
to refer you business at the end of the day. So when we think about reallocating both our clients' time and their budget, we look at where are you spending your time and money in regards to networking events, even like taking clients out to like all those things. Great. They're relational in nature, but could there be a small shift in making sure that the relationships that can take you places marketing can't? Can we go deeper with them? Can we invest more in them? And it is absolutely my preference to be able to show up meaningfully to somebody with a gift than spend my time at a 2 hour networking event in the morning. Um,
100%. I
so
could not agree more. Work smarter, not harder, right?
yeah.
I've shared this a lot. But I remember when I first kind of got into networking when I had my painting company, and it was a whole new world to me opened up, right? And I thought that success at a networking event was showing up with 100 business cards and leaving with 100 of other people's business cards, right?
Hmm.
Like you're speed dating in a way that just doesn't even make sense. And then I quickly realized that that did nothing for any of us, and that I would rather show up and have one or two really good, meaningful conversations that led to another step, whether that be coffee, lunch, getting to know each other more. How do we partner together more? That to me was really what I started defining success at those events for, right? It was seeking out the real estate agents, the interior designers, the other contractors. Those were our three key spheres of influences. Not to say that the random, commercial lender or the mortgage lender wouldn't still have business for you, right? So don't just shun people away. But at the same time, it was realizing that there was some strategy behind that. And intentionality goes a long way. I think that's kind of been the theme of this whole podcast here, is being intentional with your energy. So, yeah, getting 100 business cards, leaving with 100 is not always gonna really do much for you.
Yeah, and just to end with a fun story on that, Chris, something that I used to do in my networking in college days was everyone would walk around this networking event passing out their resume. I would go to every single person, have a conversation, go into my little corner, write a handwritten note to the relationships that stood out for me and give that. Like that can be used even at networking events
Yeah.
that people are going to. The business cards, I don't know how many business cards unfortunately get lost in my bag and in my purse, but I would absolutely be able to remember and receive really well a handwritten note from somebody.
Yep. It's the simplest thing. And in the digital world we live in nowadays, it stands out more than anything.
Yeah.
So, well, Sarah, I really appreciate your time on this. My final question for you. If I'm a painting contractor listening to this and I've realized that I have some gaps in my business at this point, um, where would you recommend I start at? What's like some of the easiest beginning points that eventually then can lead into some more systematized, relationships?
Yeah. First thing I would say, identify 10 non-client potential or current referral sources that are in one of these professional shoulder industries that you believe you have the potential and capacity to go deeper with,
Yep.
even having a conversation with them before the end of the year about how you're looking to grow your business through referrals and want to better understand how you can partner can start to kickstart some momentum so that then, Chris, we can pour fuel on the fire with the touch points and the handwritten notes and the gifts
Yep.
and just solidify that partnership for you in the long run.
I love it. That's an easy next step. And every contractor listening to this right now, winter is coming. It is unavoidable. It comes every year. And the painting contractors that start planning here in July are the ones that tend to weather that, pun intended, the best. And so take Sarah's advice, start down this path now to hopefully, again, let that be one more marketing channel you can utilize this winter. So, Sarah, thanks again. You've kind of shared obviously what you guys do, the systematic side of the relationships, building this out. You guys also handle some of the gifting and stuff. I know we've used you guys for a handful of things, which has been
Yeah.
so amazing and so great. Just feel free to share anything about that, or how can people get in touch with you guys if they just want to learn more about what you guys do? Because I know a lot of painting contractors are running it max capacity. They maybe don't have somebody in their office to help them, do these things. They've got the right intentions. They just lack the execution of it, which is where I think you guys come in great. Your team's amazing. I couldn't vouch for you guys more. That's otherwise you wouldn't be on here, obviously. But just feel free to share real quick, just anything you want to add on that on what you guys do, and then also what's a good way to have a conversation with you guys to just see if it might be a good fit.
Yeah, we'd be happy to have a strategic conversation with anybody about how they want to enter into this winter season with truly building that referral system and relationship operating system. Anyone listening can go to giftologysystem.com and you'll be put in contact with Cami, who is just
Awesome.
amazing and can speak to anyone here about also, Chris, the things that we've worked on with you and implementing
Yep.
those in your listeners' business.
Awesome. Perfect. I'll be sure and link that in the podcast description here for everybody
Okay,
too for quick reference. So
awesome.
well, I appreciate your time so much. I hope we get to connect next month when you're here in St. Louis and meet in person as well.
Yes.
But just thanks for all your expertise. Thanks for all the value you had to share today. And it's been fun.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's been awesome.
Thanks for plugging into this week's episode. I hope you're able to take a few nuggets away from it to implement into your business. Remember, knowledge without implementation is useless. If you're curious about what we do and how we help painting contractors all over North America, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. Our entire team of advisors have ran and managed painting companies just like myself and are here to help support you on your journey. We have packages available for contractors at every stage of business, from flying solo and just starting out, all the way to multi-million-dollar businesses. And lastly, if you loved this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. Thanks for plugging in, and we'll see you back for next week's episode.